This is the story of my childhood home. So, the first place I lived was in a city called Garfield Heights, Ohio. And randomly is the same, it's the same city where my dad grew up and where my grandparents lived. Um, I lived on a very short street. There was this road called Turney Road, and then like two streets came out of Turney and like connected and turned into one street, and that was my street. It was called Grove Drive, and so I was born in Colorado. I think we moved to Grove when I was like one, like around 1979. Um, it was a split level house, and so there was a garage. You could walk in the front door or the garage door. It was attached. There were bedrooms, I think, above the garage. That's probably how it went. But you walk in and you're sort of in the middle, right? I think that's what a split level means. So you walk in the front door or the garage and you're in this hallway. There was a bathroom on the end of the hallway. You could go down to the basement or you could kind of go up to the living room. And I think that's what a split level house is. You sort of walk in the middle and go up or down. And yeah, kitchen, living room. I mean, probably small by today's standards, right? It was like two bathrooms, both full bathrooms, four bedrooms upstairs, right? So you walk in, there was like a living room. We had a fireplace. Um, then there was like a kitchen with, it was the like 70s, 80s. So like weird cabinets. All the furniture was like yellow or avocado or burnt orange color. Um, there was like a porch off the back, and I think it was like you go out there and hang out outside. But at some point pretty early, probably like 1982 or 83, I sort of remember it, but I sort of don't. My They closed it in and they made that like another room. Like that was sort of the TV room at the end of it all. So the one floor was living room, kitchen, the space out back, which was the TV room. I think you stepped down. It was always like cold. It wasn't as well insulated. So obviously that, makes it cold. And then if you go up, all the bedrooms were at the top, right? So you go up the stairs and there's one, two, three, four, just like two on the right, two on the left, and then a bathroom at the end of the hall. And so my room was like go all the way down, and it's on the right. And my parents' room was all the way down and on the left, and the bathroom was sort of in between us. Uh, yeah, that's about it. I think I painted it blue at some point. They probably let me paint it. Painted it like light blue, or maybe it came that way. Uh, yeah, I mean, brushing my teeth in the bathroom right next to us there. And yeah, this was before like there were the master bedrooms, master baths was a super common thing. And so we shared a bathroom with my parents. I sort of remember like sometimes taking showers in the bathroom downstairs, which wasn't all the way in the basement. It was sort of where you walked in the garage. We had a backyard. We had a tree. I always used to climb the tree and then be afraid to jump down from the tree. So I'd be able to climb my way up, and then I'd be standing up there, and I'd be like nervous about jumping down. And total weird story. I mean, still to this day, not so much over the last year, but definitely like as an adult, I always have dreams where I'm like standing on something, and I know I have to jump down off it, and I know I'll be fine, but I'm like nervous to do it, so I'm like waiting to do it there. But in the dreams today, it's like a building. It's like huge, so that's weird. Um, yeah, and so we had big backyard, or like a I don't know how big it is now, right? Everything seemed big back in the day, but it's probably probably tiny now. But had a backyard. There were sort of like fences, but not. They were like log fences, almost like cattle fences, sort of. So you'd go through them essentially, but they were on the sides of the yard and in back. And then we'd run around the neighborhood. We would like go to the corner of the yard, me and my friend Billy Hexter, and you could just like sort of like go all the way down the block, kind of climbing over things and like going not really in anybody's yard, but sort of in the back um, between the backyards, sort of. So that's what I remember about Grove Drive. It was in like a not urban at all, but like suburban, but like very close to Cleveland suburb. It's kind of the way to think about it. I wonder when that house was built. Maybe that house might have been built. My parents moved in 1979. I don't know, for some reason, I think that house was built in the 70s, but could be totally wrong. But whatever. We'd walk to like schools and school playgrounds a few blocks away. We are very, I think, south in the city of Garfield Heights. So we'd walk across to the city of Maple Heights, which I don't know, just another city. Um, yeah, when I was 10, we moved to a new city called Independence. And the story is, I was going to a Catholic school in Garfield, and then we moved to Independence, and a lot of it was, oh, the schools were better. And I was in fourth grade, so that was kind of like it was a weird move because I had all my friends, then we moved, and I had to make all new friends, so that was a little strange. But in this case, we moved to Independence, and we moved to like a development, which is what we called it. I think some people call it a neighborhood now, but it was like, you pull in and there's no way out. There's one street in, one street out, and there's like a bunch of houses in there. And in Independence in 1988, we actually built the house. And when I say we built the house, I mean, my parents were part of the design, and then a house builder built the house, right? But it was ours, and we were the first people to live in there. And just how the timing went, my sister and I started going to school in Independence before we actually lived there. So I definitely remember, I don't know how we got to school in the morning. Maybe my parents dropped us off, and then the school bus would drop us off at the new house in Independence, but it was just like a hole in the ground. They were just building it. And so, like, usually my grandparents would be waiting there to pick us up after school. But so this was Independence. We built the house. Again, 4 bedrooms, but definitely bigger, definitely like all new and nicer, just like more spread out, more designed. We eventually finished the basement. So when we first moved in, it was unfinished, and then helped my dad, but I was like young, and so my dad did a lot of the work, kind of frame it out, put walls, carpet, all of that in the basement, add another bathroom down there. And so this house had a lot of space, like well over 2,000 square feet of space. Um, Carpeted everywhere. It had like a foyer, right, with like a little like chandelier, nothing extravagant, but you walk in, it was like a 2-story foyer. Go in, you're in the kitchen. It is funny, that house, like so many houses in the 80s, had like a formal living room type thing. So you had a dining room, living room, kitchen, kitchen table, and then a family room with the TV and just hanging out, and pretty big and spacious. But the formal living room is always funny. It was just like another room with couches that no one ever goes into, right? And it's funny now living in like a row house in DC to think about like, oh yeah, we just had like an extra room. It wouldn't be a formal living room, right? Like we do something with it. But again, things were weird in the 80s. I don't know how or why people did it. So formal living room, cool basement. We had a pool table down there. Um, and then the other cool thing was like backyard. So we had a front yard, backyard. There's like a weird little hill in the backyard, but whatever. Um, and then a little thing of trees. And then behind the trees where our property line ended was like this huge field, and there were power lines in the field. So no one was ever going to build back there. And every few years, the city would come and sort of like knock down all the weeds, and then like you had space. And so probably the first time we did it, my dad was like, "Okay, cool, let's like pave this, not pave, let's plant, like let's put grass in this back thing and mow it so that we have basically an extra yard behind the house." And so we'd play in there. I remember like shooting bow and arrows back there. Remember playing baseball and like hitting baseballs and playing catch and all that back there. And then like as I became a teenager and didn't hang out at the house as much and was going out, like that's where our dog would go like poo basically way in the back. So like you didn't have to clean it up as much. You just taught him to go way in the back. That was Independence. Lived there till I went to college, right? Cool place. I mean, yeah, I could, because it was a development, there weren't many cars. There were other kids that I went to school with in the neighborhood in the development there. And then I think I remember like riding my bike all around there because, again, not too many cars coming in and out. So you can ride up and down the streets. And there was, I don't know, a few hundred houses probably, and one, two, three, four, 5 or 6 streets. So that was cool. So that's the story of childhood homes.